This would also work for fiber channels. So if you had a fiber channel HBA, you do not have one in this system, but you would be able to go Control Alt F and be able to access the fiber channel HBA. So let's take a look at the one tools is the hardware tools. And again, we have to enter the GUI password. One of the first things you're going to see is the tuning options. The tuning options, you can set the IP frag tuning. Typically, I don't see many uses for this, where many people do not use this function, as the default is perfectly fine. But please read the vendors, manufacturers, and their specifications on doing IP fragment tuning. There's also jumbo frames config. Here you can set the jumbo frames for each NIC. So you can default as 1500, where you can set it for either 9000 or 9004 or 9014. And for 10 gig E, you can set them even higher. NFS daemon tools tuning. Here we have the default at 64. You might want to test it for different variables up to 128. These do not need a restart, so you can do this right on the fly and begin your testing. Also, this is for the read-ahead disk tuning as well. So you can select the volume and be able to set the values for those. I would recommend doing these in increments. So let's say if you're going to test with, I wouldn't do 512, I'd test with 1024 and then 4096 and 16384. There, you will see some improvements in speeds, but it's best to test it because different array controllers react differently, and the volumes and the arrays that you have as well. So please test them, and you can create many volume groups to be able to test with different arrays. So one RAID 5 you want to test with, or a RAID 6 or a RAID 10. The iSCSI daemon options. By default, the iSCSI solution with via DSS V6 is the SCST iSCSI architecture. Previously, in the older versions of DSS V5, the default was the iSCSI Enterprise Target daemon solution. By default, we select SCST. This is, we feel, better. It's faster than the IETD, and it also prevents iSCSI resets. The target options here is if you wanted to set certain values of the iSCSI target. So here, most of the settings I see useful in the fields are the max received data segments, burst length, and the max exmit data segment lengths. So these values can be changed. Just please make sure that you match them on your initiator side. No reboot is necessary on this, although in some cases you may want to just reset your iSCSI connections. And of course, the last is the iSCSI volume type. By default, block I/O mode, but you can switch to file I/O mode. Also keep in mind that this is also done in the volume manager. Here is where you can set, when you create a new iSCSI logical volume, by default you can set it here, block I/O or file I/O. The VM allocation size is only available in 32-bit mode. Typically, you'd want to increase the value if you have many replications, and this adds more memory to the volume replication. So for this exercise, most of our customers are using 64-bit mode, so it's automatically handled. Functionality options. Here you see the smart functionality. Keep in mind that this is not for RAID controllers. This is used for SATA controllers or single disk. Once you use this, you'll be able to view this in the GUI and be able to get a readout. So this is available in the status hardware. Hardware options. Let's say you want to find out information about the fans, the CPUs, the temperatures. Here we give you different variable settings that you can select from to see if your system will take it. You may have to test with several of them. Work with LM sensors. If you add the Intel servers, you can use some of these presets. Typically IPMI settings or MB motherboard monitor or LM sensors, that'll work the same. So what you'll see is if we go into the GUI and status hardware, and right now it's refreshing. So we'll see the hardware monitoring functions, and here we're seeing the voltages, the temperatures, system fans, and the thermal margins. So there's a lot of information that might be helpful for your systems and for your knowledge. External array tools, well, typically this is used for, like, well, let's say the Eureka controllers for disk scrubbing and capabilities like that. Commonly, I don't see too many people use this functionality because most of them use the Control-Alt-R, the console array tools, to be able to access the array controller. But you have the ability to use this tool as well. LCD functionality, this allows you to, let's say you have multiple systems that have an LED display that you want to display the IP address and the server name. Here you can enable it, and this allows you to display that information. Of course, LM sensors testing is similar to the hardware options as well, so you can refer back to their duplicates. DRBD tuning, here you can set for different variables, max buffers. These settings here, you can go to the drbd.org and be able to research it and test for your research for the replication. So this involves the volume replication. And that's it for the hardware tuning options. And again, if we go into some of the functions, the last ones I want to talk about is the Control-Alt-S and Control-Alt-K. And in many cases, you can use this tool if you are remotely and are not able to access the GUI. And here, the Control-Alt-K allows you to do the system restart or system shutdown. And if I do a Control-Alt-S, this will give you the ability to do a system shutdown immediately. And that ends our console tool functions. So at the end, I like to usually show at the basically of OpenE's website and over some of the areas that we like to present. If you remember in the beginning, some of the access information that we talked about. Here's where you can access our knowledge base to get information, data sheets, white papers, customer case studies, how-to resources. If you click on the how-to resources, you'll see many of the abilities to documentation that helps you to set up and configure the DSS, let's say for DSS auto failover, or if it's just for other information, how to use DSS V6 with MPIO and ESX 4.0. So there's a lot of information that will help you into either research or to properly set up with DSS V6. On the left, you'll see webcasts and demos for all the demos, and you can view them here. So these videos are very helpful to help you set up your system or to be able to have deeper understanding about DSS. At any time, please use our service and support. Always register your product. There's also software updates. Here we're able to get all the software updates for your listed products of DSS V6 or other products from OpenE. And so here you can download the latest versions of DSS V6, and also you can enter a support ticket right here to submit a ticket concerning your particular DSS V6 server or any other system that you have, a DSS V5.